My wife, Pamela, and I had been married for 5 years. 5 years of effort, patience, and trying to hold on to the love we once had. But no matter how hard I tried, it never seemed to be enough for her. It hadn't always been like this. In the beginning, everything felt perfect. Pamela and I had been inseparable. Our love burning bright with the intensity of something new and exciting. We would stay up late talking about our dreams, our fears, and everything in between. She used to look at me like I was the only man in the world. And back then I believed it. For a long time I thought we had something unbreakable. But slowly things changed. At first it was subtle, barely noticeable. Little criticisms here and there. Comments about my choices, my habits. It started as playful teasing. Or at least that's what I told myself. "Are you really wearing that out?" she would ask with a smirk. "That's how you do the dishes." My dad would never do it that way. I laughed it off in the beginning, thinking it was harmless. But over time, those comments became sharper. Less like teasing and more like judgment. And worse, the comparisons started. Comparisons to other men, her friends, husbands, her father, and eventually the one name I never wanted to hear, her ex. At first it was casual, almost in passing. Mike always planned the most romantic dates. He knew how to make a girl feel special. I would clench my jaw, tell myself not to take it personally. It was just nostalgia, right? But then it got worse. Mike knew how to fix things around the house. He was handy. Mike never forgot an anniversary. He always surprised me with something special. Mike. I had never met him, but I hated him. Not because he existed, but because Pamela refused to let him stay in the past where he belonged. At some point, I started questioning everything. Was I really such a disappointment? Was I not enough for her? So I tried harder. I planned more dates, even when I was exhausted from work. I fixed things around the house just to prove I was just as handy as Mike. I went out of my way to be the husband she claimed to want, hoping that maybe, just maybe, she would stop looking at me like I was a letdown. But nothing I did was ever enough. And the worst part? She never once acknowledged how hard I was trying. Instead, the criticisms got sharper. The distance between us grew wider, and I found myself feeling like a stranger in my own marriage. Still, I held on. I told myself it was just a rough patch, that all marriages had ups and downs, that she would see how much I loved her and things would get better. But then one night, she said something that made me realize there was nothing left to fight for. We were arguing again like we always did. I can't even remember what started it. Maybe I forgot to do something she expected me to. Maybe I said something she didn't like. But before I knew it, the conversation turned into another attack on my character. She stood in the middle of the living room, arms crossed, eyes filled with frustration. "You never take initiative, Walter. You're so passive. I swear my ex was more of a real man than you." Silence. I felt like the air had been knocked out of me. I had endured a lot from Pamela. But this was different. I looked at her, really looked at her, and all I saw was a woman who didn't respect me, who didn't appreciate me. A woman who had already decided I wasn't enough for her. Something inside me shifted. I didn't yell. I didn't argue. I didn't even defend myself. What was the point? I took a deep breath and exhaled slowly, my heart strangely calm. "Okay," I said simply. Pamela frowned. "Okay, that's all you have to say?" I didn't respond. I just turned and walked away, heading straight for the bedroom. I heard her scarf behind me. Of course. Run away like you always do. But I wasn't running. I was making a decision. That night, I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about the past 5 years, thinking about how I had given her my love, my time, my loyalty. And in return, I had been met with nothing but criticism and contempt. I wasn't going to argue with her anymore. I wasn't going to waste my energy trying to prove myself to someone who refused to see my worth. The next morning I got up and left the house in silence. No good morning, no goodbye. Just the quiet finality of a man who had nothing left to say. I drove straight to my lawyer's office and filed for divorce. Calm, clear, and without a hint of doubt. As I signed the paperwork, I didn't feel angry or sad. Just a cold, simple truth settling in that this marriage had ended long before that morning. From that day on until the papers were finalized, I acted as if she wasn't there. When I got home that evening, I didn't greet her. I didn't ask how her day was. I didn't even look at her longer than necessary. Pamela was sitting on the couch, scrolling through her phone. Usually she had something to say the moment I walked in. Some complaint, some passive-aggressive remark. But this time she was quiet. I could feel her watching me, waiting for some kind of reaction. She was expecting me to sulk, to start an argument, to lash out something. That's how it always went. She would say something cruel. I'd get upset and then I'd try to fix things. But not this time. I poured myself a drink, sat down in the armchair across from her, and turned on the TV. I could see her glancing at me from the corner of my eye, but I ignored her. Eventually, she sighed, muttered something under her breath, and went to the bedroom. Good. Let her wonder. I made a conscious effort to act as if she didn't exist. I came home late. I went out whenever I wanted. I didn't tell her where I was going, and I didn't answer her texts. I stopped acknowledging her presence. I stopped reacting to her remarks and stopped playing the part of the desperate husband trying to win his wife's affection. At first, Pamela barely noticed. She rolled her eyes when I ignored her, muttering things like, "Oh, now you're giving me the silent treatment?" As if my behavior was nothing more than a petty tantrum. But as the days passed, she started to realize that this wasn't me sulking. This was something else. One evening, I came home after midnight. I had spent the night out, not because I had anywhere important to be, but simply because I could. When I walked into the house, Pamela was sitting in the living room, arms crossed, waiting for me. "Where the hell have you been?" she demanded. I barely spared her a glance as I kicked off my shoes. "Out where?" she pressed. "Does it matter?" I asked, walking past her toward the kitchen. "You don't care anymore, do you?" she said. I dropped my keys on the table. "No." She blinked. "Just like that?" I shrugged. "Yes, just like that." She let out a small, bitter laugh. "Wow, so that's it?" I leaned against the counter, watching her. "What did you expect, Pamela? You called me less of a man. You act like I'm some guy who's just taking up space in your life. So why should I care?" She stared at me, something shifting in her eyes. For the first time, she looked unsure, like she had gone too far and didn't know how to take it back. Then, after a moment, she straightened her shoulders and scoffed. "Fine," she said. "I want a divorce." I smirked. "Already took care of that." She frowned. "What?" "I filed the morning after our last argument." I said, calm and steady. "The papers will be ready soon. You'll need to pack your things and leave." She blinked rapidly, as if trying to process what I had just said. You're lying." "No, I'm not." For the first time, she didn't have a comeback. She just stood there silent. 2 days later, Pamela left. I thought maybe she'd fight me on it, try to drag things out just to make me miserable. But she didn't. She packed up her clothes, grabbed her things, and walked out without looking back. I didn't feel anger. I didn't feel sadness. I just felt relief. For the first time in years, I didn't have to deal with the passive-aggressive comments. The coldness, the constant feeling that I wasn't good enough for someone who never appreciated me in the first place. I was free. Pamela wasted no time moving on. Barely a month later, I started hearing about her new life. Mutual friends told me she was going out. More dating again. Posting pictures of parties and fancy dinners with new guys. Always smiling. Always looking like she was having the time of her life. But I didn't care. I wasn't checking up on her. But word still got to me. People love to talk, especially when they expect drama. "She looks happy," someone told me once. I just shrugged. Good for her. And I meant it. She got what she wanted. She was free to do whatever she wanted. But life doesn't always go the way people expect. For a while, everything seemed to be going great for Pamela. But then the rumors started to shift. The dating scene wasn't as fun as she thought. The men she was meeting weren't like me. They weren't patient. They weren't invested. Some ghosted her after a few dates. Others only stuck around, for one thing. And the ones who stayed, they weren't offering her the fairy tale. she thought she deserved. She had spent years thinking I was the problem, that I was the one holding her back from something better. Now she was realizing that what she walked away from wasn't so bad. After all, a mutual friend, Sophie, brought it up one day. She says dating isn't what it used to be. Sophie said, swirling her drink. I laughed. No kidding. Apparently guys don't treat women the way they used to. That made me laugh harder. Pamela had taken for granted everything I had done for her. She thought the effort I put into our relationship was standard, that finding someone better would be easy. But she was learning the hard way that most men weren't going to put up with her attitude, her entitlement, or her lack of respect. She had always been the type of woman who refused to take accountability. In her mind, she was never the problem. It was always someone else. She walked out of my life, convinced she could replace me easily, that she could snap her fingers and find someone better. But what she never understood was that the issue had never been me. It was her. And slowly she stopped bragging about her new life. The constant party pictures faded. The social media updates became rare because it wasn't fun anymore. Because she was alone. The divorce process went surprisingly smoothly. Maybe it was because neither of us had any desire to drag it out. Or maybe it was because deep down, Pamela knew she had pushed me too far. Whatever the case, she didn't fight it. She signed the papers without much argument, and within months it was all finalized. Just like that, we were no longer husband and wife. No long drawn-out court battles. No messy disputes over property or finances. I kept the house and she took her things and left. It was the cleanest break I could have hoped for. And honestly, I didn't waste time mourning what was already dead. I focused on my career, put in the effort that I had once split between work and trying to please a woman who could never be pleased. And the results showed promotions, new opportunities, things that I had been too distracted to fully chase before. And most importantly, I didn't look back. Then, out of nowhere came the first text. Hey, how have you been? I didn't respond. A few days later, another one followed. I was just thinking about you today. Hope you're doing well. I knew exactly what was happening. She had spent months chasing the life she thought she wanted. Freedom, excitement, tension. But it didn't turn out the way she expected. Now she was circling back, looking for something familiar, something stable. She was looking for me. I still didn't reply. Then came the comments. A simple looks great under a vacation photo. A fire emoji on a picture of me at the gym. Subtle, calculated. She wanted me to notice her, but I didn't. Then came the real attempt. One night my phone lit up. It was her. I hovered for a moment, ready to let it go to voicemail. Almost did. But curiosity won. Hello. There was a pause on the other end. Then, in a voice softer than I'd heard in years, she said, I miss you. I leaned back in my chair, eyes on the ceiling. No, you don't, I said. She gave a nervous little laugh. I do. I was just thinking about how much we've been through. I didn't let her finish. But you thought you could do better. Silence. Then a sigh. I feel like we gave up too fast. I nearly laughed too fast. I said you left, Pamela. That was your choice. Another long silence. I don't want to argue, she said quietly. I just wanted to talk. I nodded, even though she couldn't see it. Well, we talked and I hung up. That was the last time I answered her calls. She sent a few more messages in the weeks that followed. Longer ones. More emotional apologies wrapped in vague regret. A wish that things could have gone differently. I read them and left them unread. Because while she sat in silence, coming to terms with the life she chose and the reality that no one was coming to rescue her from it, I was already too far ahead to care. Thank you for watching.